Good morning, Rania.
Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good.
How is life in London?
It's okay. It's a bit of a dull, cloudy day today. It was quite nice yesterday, but I think it's going to be a bit of a wet weekend. So, but we're okay.
So we're just the same in Paris then.
Yes.
Yes.
I think now you've just come out of the latest sort of curfew, haven't you, in Paris, if I read correctly?
Oh, yes. Now mad things can happen, yes. Unfortunately. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, it depends, you know.
People can go out and have a drink again.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're the co-host today?
I'm the host, yes, because Kevin is busy elsewhere.
Okay, that's good.
So I'm just going to make Joseph.
So it makes a change. That's good.
Make a co-host. There we go. Yes, please. So Joseph, I made you a co-host.
That's good.
I'll make you a co-host as well, Linda, just so that there's a few of us.
Okay.
Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. I just normally join through the link, but when I pressed the link, it kept coming up with launch meeting rather than join meeting. So I had to put the code in.
Oh, right. That's strange. Unless you were the host or something. But yeah. Technology. Where would we be without it? Morning, Joseph.
Hello.
Oh, you sound a bit faint.
Hello.
You're a bit faint, a bit muffled. Or if it may just be me, but
is that any better? Is that better?
Better.
Stephen, did you want to make me a co-host? Because I think you didn't. You made Rania a co-host.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Quite right. Sorry. Full co-host permission. Right.
Am I too quiet, everybody? Am I still?
No, you're all right now.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, it's all right. La 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 la.
It's not bad. A fraction on the faint side, I'd say, but
Not too quiet. Okay.
A little bit.
Hold on.
In my humble opinion.
No, it's all right. Let's just put it up a bit.
Bit better.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
Morning, Alan. You're muted, Alan. Can't hear you. Alan is muted.
You're muted, Alan.
Sorry, Stephen, I hadn't unmuted. Hello, yes. Can you hear me all right? Because I'm reading Haftarah today.
Yes.
Good. Is it Rachel taking the service? It is, isn't it?
No, Joseph's taking it today.
Oh, beg your pardon. Right.
Excuse me a second. Just get my book.
Stephen, will you be putting up the Haftarah reading?
I will do it, yes.
Oh, it's Joseph, right.
I've got it all.
It's Jeremiah chapter 1.
Yep. Do you want me to... I'll just put it up on the screen at the time, right?
I've got a bit of an introduction that I can do.
Okay.
From when I last read it 8 years ago. Same portion.
Okay, see if anyone remembers that.
Morning, Janet.
Morning. I've got a blank screen, so I'm going to leave and then rejoin.
You can see you okay?
Is it okay? I can see you. Raj is live.
And I can't see anybody, so I don't know quite what's.
That's bad.
Okay, so goodbye. I'll see you all soon, I hope.
Put another stick in later.
You have reached the stage of having separate screens, have you?
Well, the point is that, yes, you may wonder why we're on separate devices. Janet's on her laptop.
Oh, I see. That's like me, yeah. No.
Which is not compatible with Zoom. So
right.
although she can hear everybody, hopefully can see them, it's not very good if she has to say anything.
Okay.
And it's also not terribly comfortable if I'm sitting alongside her. So I'm at my desktop.
Yes.
I hope you can see and hear me.
Yes, I can very well, quite clearly, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So that's
Janet always seems that she's speaking from underwater.
That's right. It's because, it's as I say, because apparently the laptop, the Chromebook, she's on a Chromebook, which Chromebook is not compatible with Zoom. So I understand.
So, yeah.
Morning, George. And Hannah, good morning.
Shabbat shalom to everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Hannah. Shabbat shalom, Ronya.
Shabbat.
Paris seems so near on Zoom.
Yes, that is only an illusion, Hannah.
That's true. Just on the illusion.
Moment.
Hannah?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Did you get my email? I sent you an email a few days ago, even maybe a couple of weeks ago.
I think I did, but you know, if I don't reply within 2 or 3 days, I sort of forget that I got it. That's very rude of me.
Okay, no, don't worry. I was just wondering, because you know,
things have been very hectic here.
Okay. Okay, whenever you can reply, or you don't have to reply.
I don't think I've got very good email manners.
Oh, that email is not urgent anymore. I find with my son that email takes third priority in the order of urgency. So yeah, I'm afraid.
I was thinking about your son Joseph, Stephen, the other day, because I can't remember, we must have passed Shalach Lecha, haven't we? And I remember his bar mitzvah.
Yes, it was his bar mitzvah portion and mine, actually.
And yours as well?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good.
Oh my goodness.
Shared it. Yeah. How is he and his wife? And
very
how
well, yes, they're very well. They're, you know, happy in New York, working hard. So
that I believe.
I haven't seen them, unfortunately, since last March. So
yeah, last March. Yeah. Mm.
Yes.
Can't get over there at the moment. They won't let us in properly. So
no, well, my son hasn't seen his children for 1.5 years. He's in Belgium, Africa, and in the middle of June he managed to get there. He'll be with them for 5 weeks, and it's just wonderful to see them on Zoom. They all look so relaxed and happy together. You know, it's a long time to see you.
It is a long time. Awful.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fine with their mother, but it's such a distance. You know, 7,000 miles or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, he jumped through all the hoops and he's there.
Paul Hart and Paul Zatz.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
And Pat
Hi,
Zatz.
Paul.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Yes.
No Kevin this morning then, is he?
I think Kevin's not joining us.
No, I think he's playing in some football.
Oh, yes, he plays in the walking over 50s walking football.
They're not training for this evening, are they?
Not training. No, I don't think he'll be coming on as a substitute this evening. No.
No.
Are the Cohens back from wherever they were?
Oh, who?
The Cohens.
Oh, don't know.
Cohen. Adrian and Lindsay.
No idea. Have they been away then?
A bit. There was a nice article that Lindsay wrote in the.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
Yep.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Up in the JC this week about Anna Posner's appointment as well.
Oh.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
Yes, oh yes.
And
Yeah.
also about
Mhm.
the builders, Griggs, were sort of, I think, advertising their construction of the new building, and the picture was shown of Rachel and Hannah, in fact, as well as the other group
Yes.
on the building sites, all in the JC.
All right. Okay. Wow.
Your JC this week.
A lot in the JC, yeah. Incidentally, in the last week or so, we've been in touch with Ron Collins.
Ah, how is it?
Oh.
And
Yeah.
he said he didn't realise Zoom was on again, the services.
Ah,
So
For heaven's
I
sake.
met to Anna, Anne, and she's sending him details again.
good.
Okay.
So hopefully at some stage she will turn up.
That'd be fantastic. He
Yeah.
could
That'd
get
be
the
nice.
prize for the long distance communicant.
7 hours ahead, aren't they?
4.5 hours time difference.
Mm.
No, he still remembers us very fondly and wants to keep in touch.
Oh, that's lovely. Yes.
But he was mainly interested because of Vienna, putting in the remembrance stones, the Stolpersteine.
Ah, yes.
He wanted to
All
know.
right. Yes, indeed. No, yeah.
Joseph, do you think we should start? It's now.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Can I just check if people can hear me okay? Other people?
Yes. Yeah.
Very well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
all
Yeah.
fine. Not too loud. If it's too loud as well, you can tell me. Because Stephen was saying it was too quiet before. Okay, I was just checking. Right, so we will begin then.
Let me just welcome you, Joseph. Rachel's not with us this week, but she will be with us next week. So Joseph will be taking the service today. I'm hosting because Kevin is away on a football tournament. So just want to wish everybody Shabbat Shalom. If you could perhaps mute yourselves, so that, and then I'll hand over to Joseph.
Great. Many thanks, Stephen. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Lovely to see you all. I've been away for a couple of weeks. I was in sunny Kent, or not so sunny Kent, much of that time, but we made the most of it as one does. But happy to be back. So we're going to be beginning with Service 2 today, which can be found on page 112. That's Service 2 on page 112.
מה טובו אהליך יעקב, אהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אהליך יעקב, אהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. בנים ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה אל היכל קודשך ביראתך. מה טובו אהליך יעקב, אהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אהליך יעקב, אהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מעון ביתך ומקום משכן כבודך. ואני אשתחווה ואקרא אפרך לפני אדוני עושי. מה טובו אוכלך יעקב, אוכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוכלך יעקב, אוכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני את רצון. אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת ישך. מה טובו אוכלך יעקב, אוכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוכלך יעקב, אוכלך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל.
Would someone like to read for us at the foot of page 112? Yes, thank you, Maureen.
Eternal God, a mystery surrounds my life. What came before it and what lies beyond it are shrouded in darkness. But in the darkness is your presence, and in the mystery your love. No mind can grasp the splendor of your being, no tongue express the majesty of your works. Yet there are times when we sense a reality that is beyond our mortal sight. May this Sabbath be such a time for us. Help us to hear your voice, to find your image in our souls, and to be at peace. My God, shall I continue?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Maureen.
Okay, thank you.
113.
Elohai neshama shenatata bi taorachi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi taorachi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi taorachi, taorachi. Ata barata, ata yitzata, ata nefachta bi, bata mashamra bikibi, kol zaman shehanashama bikibi, mode ani lefanecha Adonai Elohai ve'Elohei avotai, Ribon kol hamasim, Adon kol hanashamot, Baruch ata Adonai, Asher biado nefesh kol chai, Baruch kol basa ish. Baruch shama b'chaya ha'olam, Baruch hu, Baruch ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Hamulal b'fi amo, Mushubam fo'ah, Bilshon chasidav avatav, Bishvachot uvezimirot, Nakad lecha, Banamlicha, Malkeinu yachid, He ha'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, Melech mechulal b'tishbachot. To you the stars of morning sing, from you their radiance bright did spring, and steadfast in their vigils day and night. Your angels, flooded with fervour, ring your praise. They teach the holy ones to bring into your house the breath of early light. And I'm going to turn now to page 116. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Anim Zamirot Veshirim Erog Ki Elecha Nafshi Ta'arog Nafshi Chimda B'Tzel Yadecha L'Da'at Kol Chasadecha Midei Dabri B'Kvodecha Amel Libi El Dodecha Yeravna Shichi Alecha Ki Nafshi Tarag Elecha. The foot of 116. Yishtabak Shimcha Le'ad Malkeinu Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaHaGadosh B'Shamayim uVa'aretz Ki L'chana Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Shir Ushvacha Hallel V'Zimra Barachot V'Chodahot Mi'ata Ve'ad Olam Baruch Ata Adonai Abocheh B'Shirei Zimra. And we turn to page 135. 135. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Baruch Hu Adonai Amevorach Amevorach Baruch Adonai Amevorach Le'olam Le'olam Va'ed. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. We're at the top of page 136. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzei or uvarei choshek, oseh shalom uvarei et hakol, hameir la'aretz v'ldarim alecha v'rachamim, u'tavo mechadesh b'kol yom ta'amid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chokma asita, malach ha'aretz kinenecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha v'al morei or she'asita. Yefaruch ha'sela. Baruch atah Adonai yotzeh ha'ma'orot. Someone like to read the next passage, the great is your love, or the Ahava Rabbah. Yeah, Alison? You're still muted, Alison.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truth of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching. Make us faithful to your commandments and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people, Israel, to serve you.
Thank you, Alison. Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Mahuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed. V'atahai Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha ובכל נפשך ובכל מודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוהים מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. 138 למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. And would someone like to read for us at the foot of 138, please? It'd be great to get everyone to read at some point today. There's not tons of us. George, please.
Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words, now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly, you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. And then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song.
Thank you, George. 139. Mi chamocha ha'elim Adonai mi kamocha neda b'kodesh Nohora Tehillah Hoseh Ele Nohora Tehillah Hoseh Fele שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. תודה. צור ישראל, תומה בעזרת ישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני, גואל Israel. And we turn to our Amidah now, which is on page 140, and please feel free to stand if you'd like to. Adonai Yana nai 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 safatai tifta. Yana nai 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 ufi yagid. Ufi yagid techilateha. Yana na 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 nai nai Adonai. Yana na 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 safatai tifta. Yana nai 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 ufi yagid. Ufi yagid techilateha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol בזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים את הרב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומרעיד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומרעיד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא הולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיע ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו, בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו, כבודו, מלא עולם, ברוך כבוד, אדוני במקומו, במקומך מלכנו, תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לה, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, הללויה, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד קודלך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד קודלך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחה אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד קודלך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Would someone like to read for us at the foot of 142? 142? Was that Hannah? Yep. Hannah? Yep.
Right. You can hear me now, yes? If we was to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
Thank you, Hannah. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת בקוראי עונג. המקדשי שביעי, המקדשי שביעי, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך. בהשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, בהשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה, למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בשבועתך, ותהל ליבנו, ותהל ליבנו, לעבדך באמת. והנחילנו, אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו בקום ישראל, מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Would someone like to read for us at the top of page 144, the next couple of paragraphs? Linda, great, and you can sing a bit if you would like to.
Witzei Adonai Elohei b'amacha Yisrael, tfilatam b'ahavat kabel, u'tehila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, baruch ata Adonai, she'otocha levadecha, b'yira na'avod. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu, le'olam le'olam va'ed. Sur chayenu, mahagen yishenu, atahu ledor vador. Sur chayenu, mahagen yishenu, atahu ledor vador. Nodelcha nusapeti latecha, al chayenu hamsurim biadecha, va'al nishmotenu hapugudot lach, va'al nisecha, shebachol yom imanu, va'al nivlotecha, v'tovotecha, shebachol et erev, v'avoke v'tzoharayim. Baruch ata Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'el hodot.
Thank you, Linda. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom. sim shalom tova uvracha, sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Rachamim. Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amecha sim shalom tova uvracha, sim shalom tova uvracha. Baruch atah Adonai osei ha-shalom. Now we're going to have a silent prayer using either the text at the foot of 145 or your own private prayers and thoughts. עושה שלום במרמה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרמה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרמה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל בני אדם. I'd like to say hello to Linda and Adrian, who joined us during that. So hi, welcome, Shabbat Shalom. We're going to do the theme today. I don't always do this, but I thought this was quite a rich one, rather lovely. And I do recommend the footnotes are really interesting. They explain where all the sources come from. I always read the footnotes, I say, as a PhD student. Crucial, but the liberal Siddur is really excellent for this, and it's a rich mixture of classical rabbinic text and more literary text from the past 200 years. So this is the theme of tolerance on page 313, and as we'll see, so the tolerance is a slightly davka
ironic choice here because Pinchas, who today's parasha is named after, is not terribly tolerant. So I'd like other people to read this. They can be in the same room, or they don't have to be in the same room. So who would like to read the theme for us? A couple of people willing to do this. The Zatsis seem to be both waving, indicating they could both do it. That'd be fine. Yeah.
Let the Eternal One, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint someone over the congregation who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall lead them out and bring them in.
Why does it say the God of the spirits of all flesh? Because Moses wished to say to God, Sovereign of the universe, you know the mind of every single individual and how they are all different from one another. Therefore, appoint over them a leader who will be tolerant of each and every one according to their state of mind.
When Moses saw how important Pinchas had become, he feared that he might be chosen as the next leader, and it did not seem good to him that Israel should have such a zealot for a leader. Therefore Moses begged of God that Israel's leader should be one who would be patient with every individual, that is to say, a tolerant leader, not a zealot. Elijah, like Pinchas, was a zealot, but at Mount Horeb he learned that God was not in the howling wind, nor in the earthquake, nor in the raging fire, but in the still small voice.
By this means, God sought to make him understand that godliness is not transmitted by the flames of zealotry, nor does the spirit of religion enter the human heart through the fulminations of the fanatic, but only through the still, small voice of gentle, kind, and pleasant speech, only through words of sweet reason and good sense.
An aged man, whom Abraham hospitably invited to his tent, refused to join him in prayer to the universal God. Learning that he was a fire worshipper, Abraham drove him from his door. That night, God appeared to Abraham in a vision and said,
I have borne with that ignorant man for 70 years, and could you not have patiently suffered him one night?
In every hour, God provides sustenance for all the world's inhabitants according to their need, and satisfies every living thing, not only the respectable and righteous, but also the wicked and the idolaters.
I call heaven and earth to witness whether a person be Gentile or Jewish, man or woman, male or female servant, solely according to their conduct does the Holy Spirit rest upon them.
Nothing spoils human nature more than false zeal. Our fallibility and the shortness of our knowledge should make us peaceable and gentle, because I may be mistaken. I must not be dogmatical and confident, peremptory and imperious. I will not break the certain laws of charity for a doubtful doctrine or an uncertain truth.
Heaven is no totalitarian state. The great ones of the world have recognized the diversity of human beings and striven to bring out the best in each.
The first thing to learn in intercourse with others is non-interference with their own peculiar ways of being happy, providing that those ways do not assume to interfere by violence with ours. No one has insight into all the ideals. No one should presume to judge them offhand. The pretension to dogmatize about them in each other is the root of most human injustices, and the trait in human character most likely to make the angels weep. Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. They saw him at a distance, and before he came near to them, they conspired to kill him. They could not bear to hear his dreams again or tolerate the vision of their falling stars. They saw him from afar, beyond the sound of words which might have bridged the dark abyss. There was no dialogue, the pit was there. So companies of children march to war, hate other flags, worship themselves and cling to narrow ways. Alongside them 1,000 roads stretch out, 1,000 different visions filled with hope, 1,000 galaxies caught in the web of God. And God would speak to us out of every wandering star if we could but break through the wall, if we could hear the other. Why then we might hear God.
He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in.
Rabbi Akiva said, love your neighbor as yourself is the greatest principle of the Torah.
Amar Rabbi Akiva, Amar Rabbi Akiva, Amar Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Akiva Amar, Rabbi Akiva Amar. ואהבת לרעך כמוך, לרעך כמוך. זה כלל גדול בתורה, זה כלל גדול בתורה, זה כלל גדול בתורה, זה כלל גדול בתורה. Thank you both very much for your reading. That was very, very well read. It was quite a lot, but I appreciate it. I think it's a very nice set of texts, and it's very interesting, sort of what the work behind the scenes that John Rayner and others kind of did in creating this kind of collage of texts which are both Jewish and not, to create a sort of liberal Jewish vision. I think we don't often sort of notice that work, but it's quite interesting. So now we'll turn to our Torah service, which can be found in the normal place on page 481. That's 481. אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך et amo v'shalom. Okay, imagine I have a scroll, which I don't. I've only got my kids' fluffy Torah downstairs, but I didn't bring it up. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh. Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Nomama Shemo Yagdav. L'cha Adonai Hagdula, V'Hagavura, V'Hatiferet, V'Hanetzach, V'Chahod, V'Hanetzach, V'Chahod, Ki Chol B'Shamayim, ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל לראש. So we now come to our Torah reading, and we're going to be reading from Parashat Pinchas. We're not going to be reading the section about Pinchas the zealot, who sort of kills for God, and is ironically rewarded with a blessing of peace. We're going to be reading the section after that about the daughters of Zelophehad, who protest at injustice and have some success in doing so. I'll put the text up for you in a minute. Can I have a volunteer to do an aliyah, have a Torah blessing? I have not arranged this in advance, so it's all open up for anyone. Yeah, Paul, you want to do it? That's great. Okay, so let me put the Torah reading up on the screen a second. Hold on. Let's get this up. So I need, this. Oh, can you? Oh, that's the Haftarah. Sorry, let's just scroll up. Can everyone see that? Okay. Gesture to me. Yep. Thumbs up. Great. Okay. So as you can see on the screen, it's Numbers 26, chapter 1. Book of Numbers, chapter 26, 1, if you're following in the Chumash. The text is on the screen, if not. Right. Paul, do you want to do the blessing? Let me call you up. What's your Hebrew name?
Peretz Mordechai ben Benjamin.
Sorry, I need to get that again.
Peretz Mordechai ben Benjamin.
Okay. Yamod. Peretz Mordechai ben Benjamin L'Kriyat HaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher b'cha banu mikol ha'amim v'natah lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. I'm going to chant the Hebrew first. V'tikrav banot Salofchad ben Hefer ben Gilad ben Machir ben Menashe לממשפחות Menashe ben Yosef ואלה שמות בנותיו מחלה נועה והגלה ומלכה ותצהר ותעמודנה לפני משה ולפני אלעזר הכהן ולפני הנשאים וכל העדה פתח אוהל מועד לאמור אבינו מת במדבר והוא לא היה בתוך העדה הנועדים על אדוני בעדת קורח כי בחטאו הוא מת ובנים לא היו לו למה יגרש שם אבינו מתוך משפחתו כי אין לו בן תנה לנו אחוזה בתוך אחי אבינו ויקרב משה את משפטיו לפני אדוני ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור כן בנות צלופחד דוברות נתן תיתן להם אחוזת נחלה בתוך אחי אביהם והעברת את נחלת אביהן להן ואל בני ישראל תדבר לאמור איש כי ימות ובן אין לו והעברתם את נחלתו לביתו ואם אין לו בת ונתתם את נחלתו לאחיו ואם אין לו אחים ונתנתם את נחלתו לאחי אביו ואם אין אחים לאביו ונתנתם את נחלתו לשרו הקרוב אליו ממשפחתו וירש אותה והייתה לפני ישראל לחוקת משפט כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה ויאמר אדוני אל משה עלה אל העברים הזה וראה את הארץ אשר נתתי לבני ישראל וראית אותה ונאספת אל עמך גם אתה כאשר נאסף אהרון אחיך כאשר מריתם פי במטבע צין במריבת העדה, להקדישני במים לעיניהם, הם ממריבת קדש מתבצעים. ידבר משה אל אדוני לאמור, יפקוד אדוני אלוהי הרוחות לכל בשר, איש על העדה, אשר יצא לפניהם, ואשר יבוא לפניהם, אשר יוציאם ואשר יביאם, ולא תהיה עדת אדוני כצאן אשר אין להם רועה. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, קח לך את יהושע בן נון, איש אשר רוח בו, וסמכת את ידך עליו, ועמדת אותו לפני אלעזר הכהן ולפני כל העדה, וציווית אותו לעיניהם, ונתת מחודך עליו, למען ישמעו כל עדת בני ישראל. ולפני אלעזר הכהן יעמוד, ושאל לו במשפט האורים לפני אדוני, על פיו יצאו, ועל פיו יבואו, וכל בני ישראל איתו וכל העדה. ויעש משה כאשר ציווה אדוני אותו, ויקח את יהושע ויעמידהו לפני אלעזר הכהן ולפני כל העדה, ויסמוק את ידיו עליו ויצווהו כאשר דיבר אדוני ביד משה. Would someone else like to read the translation? It's up on the screen, right here. I can't see you all, so if someone wants to... yes, Stephen, go for it.
The daughters of Zelophehad of Manasseh family, son of Hepher, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph, came forward. The names of the daughters were Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the chieftains, and the whole assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and they said, Our fathers died in the wilderness. He was not one of the faction, Korach's faction, which banded together against the Lord, but died for his own sin, and he has left no sons. Let not our father's name be lost to his clan, just because he had no son. Give us a holding among our father's kinsmen. Moses brought their case before God, and God said to Moses, The plea of Zelophehad's daughters is just. You should give them a hereditary holding among their father's kinsmen. Transfer their father's share to them. Further, speak to the Israelite people as follows. If a man dies without leaving a son, you shall transfer his property to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you shall assign his property to his brothers. If he has no brothers, you shall assign his property to his father's brothers. If his father had no brothers, you shall assign his property to his nearest relative in his own clan, and he shall inherit it. This shall be the law of procedure for the Israelites, in accordance with God's command to Moses. God said to Moses, Ascend these heights of Abarim, and view the land that I have given to the Israelite people. When you have seen it, you too shall be gathered to your kin, just as your brother Aaron was. For in the wilderness of Sin, when the community was contentious, you disobeyed my command to uphold my sanctity in their sight by means of the water. Those are the waters of Meribat Kadesh in the wilderness of Sin. Moses spoke to God, saying, "Let the Eternal One, source of the breath of all flesh, appoint someone over the community who shall go out before them and come in before them, and who shall take them out and bring them in, so that the Eternal One's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd." And God answered Moses, "Single out Joshua, son of Nun, an inspired man, and lay your hand upon him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and before the whole community, and commission him in their sight. Invest him with some of your authority, so that the whole Israelite community may obey. But he shall present himself to Eleazar the priest, who shall on his behalf seek the decision of the Urim before the Eternal One. By such instruction they shall go out, and by such instruction they shall come in, he and all the Israelites, the whole community." Moses did as God commanded him. He took Joshua and had him stand before Eleazar the priest and before the whole community. He laid his hands upon him and commissioned him, as God had spoken through Moses.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And Paul, you have the blessing after the Torah now.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher notן לנו Torah emet, v'chayein alayim noten b'tochainu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And imagining we're lifting up the Torah and we sing Baruch Shenatan Torah Amo Yisrael B'Kedushato. Just to say, that section about the anointing of Joshua, a couple of things. One, it's got the laying of the hands ceremony, which is, and it's the same, samacha, it's the same root as smicha. So that's what we do when we ordain rabbis. We past rabbis lay hands on them to pass on the chain of tradition. And also just to say, we might feel like this comes at the end of the story. Really, Moses has been told of his death, and Joshua is being put in his place. And the Book of Numbers doesn't really end the Torah narrative. It's as if you don't need the Book of Deuteronomy, probably because the Book of Deuteronomy was written or found later. And therefore it kind of schleps out this last moments, but it's all pretty set up at the end of the Book of Numbers. We're going to go on to the Haftarah reading now, and just before I hand over to Alan, just to say, it's not the Haftarah for Pinchas. That would have been an Elijah story. It's the Haftarah, given that we've just ended past the 17th of Tammuz, which is the beginning of the 3 weeks leading up to Tish B'Av, which commemorates the first breach of the wall of Jerusalem. And that was last Sunday. And I'm not sure if this is the traditional liberal Haftarah, but it's certainly true the traditional Haftarah for this date. And we always, in the liberal synagogues, we always read the 7 Haftarot of consolation after Tish B'Av. But we don't always read the Haftarot of rebuke beforehand. We like to have the good stuff without but I'm not sure you can take one without the other. So this is the first Haftarah of rebuke, and as always it's beautiful poetry from Jeremiah. So it's the beginning of the book of Jeremiah, and I'm now going to hand over to Alan to read it.
Yes, thank you. As Joseph has said, it's the first chapter that I'm reading of the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah lived in the 7th and 6th centuries BCE, and is the second of the major prophets. Known as the Weeping Prophet, he was called by God to prophesy about Jerusalem's destruction that would occur by invaders from the north, because Israel, the northern kingdom, had been unfaithful to the laws of the covenant and had forsaken God by worshipping idols. He was appointed to reveal the sins of the people and the consequences they faced. In chapter 1, Jeremiah says that God tells him he must not be afraid, speak whatever he tells him to say, and go wherever he is sent. And later in the book, Jeremiah says that God has told him not to marry or father children, not to enter a house of feasting, and not to sit in the company of merrymakers. Like so many of the prophets, his life was clearly not a bundle of fun. I'm reading this Haftarah this morning in memory of my father Reggie on the occasion of his yahrzeit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nbiim tovim, v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'emerim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, abohei b'torah, u'v'moshe avdo, u'v'Yisrael amo, u'v'nbi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
The words of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests at Anathoth, in the territory of Benjamin. The word of the Lord came to him in the days of King Josiah, son of Amon of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign, and throughout the days of King Jehoiakim, son of Josiah of Judah, and until the end of the 11th year of King Zedekiah, son of Josiah of Judah, when Jerusalem went into exile in the 5th month. The word of the Eternal One came to me. Before I created you in the womb, I selected you. Before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet concerning the nations. I replied, Ah, Eternal One, I don't know how to speak, for I am still a boy. And the Eternal One said to me, Do not say I am still a boy, but go wherever I send you, and speak whatever I command you. Have no fear of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Eternal One. The Eternal One put out his hand and touched my mouth, and the Eternal One said to me, Herewith I put my words into your mouth. See, I appoint you this day over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and to pull down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant. The word of the Eternal One came to me, What do you see, Jeremiah? I replied, I see a branch of an almond tree. The Eternal said to me, You have seen right, for I am watchful to bring my word to pass. And the word of the Eternal came to me a second time. What do you see? I replied, I see a steaming pot tipped away from the north. And the Eternal said to me, From the north shall disaster break loose upon all the inhabitants of the land. For I am summoning all the peoples of the kingdoms of the north, declares the Eternal. They shall come and shall each set up a throne before the gates of Jerusalem, against its walls round about, and against all the towns of Judah. And I will argue my case against them for all their wickedness. They have forsaken me and sacrificed to other gods and worshipped the works of their hands. So you, gird up your loins, arise and speak to them, all that I command you. Do not break down before them, lest I break you before them. I make you this day a fortified city and an iron pillar, and bronze walls against the whole land, against Judah's kings and officers, and against its priests and citizens. They will attack you, but they shall not overcome you, for I am with you, declares the Eternal, to save you. The word of the Eternal came to me, saying, Go proclaim to Jerusalem, Thus said the Eternal, I accounted to your favor the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride. Have you followed me in the wilderness, in a land not sown? Israel was holy to the Eternal, the first fruits of his harvest, and who are of it were held guilty. And all who ate of it were held guilty. Disaster befell them, declares the Eternal. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, hamdaber u'mekayim shakol davarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah, va'al ha'avodah, va'al hamvi'im, ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת, על הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Thank you very much, Alan, for that. Thank you. We now come to our community prayers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, as I did last time, I'm going to use the prayer that I wrote before, which is sort of combines the prayer for the UK and for Israel and for all countries. I'm going to put that on the screen now, and maybe someone will offer to read it for us. Yeah. And so, oh, no, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Sorry, that was the Haftarah. Let's try again. Is that the right one? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Can someone offer to read that for us? Yep. A prayer for all countries, or I'll read it if no one wants to. Yep. Great. I can't see you all, but I thought I saw a hand, so just please unmute.
A prayer for all our countries. Eternal God, grant blessing to all the people of this country, to all the peoples of Israel and Palestine, and to all the countries of the world. May all people find resources they need to survive, and may each of us find love, comfort, and well-being so that we can flourish. May all countries be governed in accordance with the principles of equality, justice, and peace. May those in power act humbly and work only for the good of those they serve. May all who are repressed see liberation, and may all who need it find refuge. May the walls and the borders which divide us fall. May justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. May this come speedily in our days. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Alison. And we'll read the prayer for the community at the foot of 484. Next time I'll try and put that into it as well, so for maximum efficiency. So combine in one. So someone read the 484, the community prayer, and then pause at the bottom, and I'll do a prayer for healing there. So yeah, can just someone do that, please? It can be Sue.
Eternal God, as we bless our ancestors and generations past, bless now this virtual congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this virtual synagogue to meet, to study and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain.
And at this point, can we have any names of people that you would like to be added to our prayer for healing? Are there any names?
Ashley Hart.
Ashley Hart, thank you.
Daphne Cousins, my friend.
Daphne Cousins.
My friend Stuart Beattie.
Stuart Beattie.
My cousin Herbert Vulcan Glass.
Oh,
Brenda.
Brenda Hunt.
Sandy.
My cousin Nikki.
Again. Maureen, I didn't catch yours.
May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
Many thanks. So we're now going to the bottom of 486. 486. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado. Oto aleret
Eretz v'shamayim v'yarem gerem ve'amu tehila v'chol chasida ibnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. 489. Ki lechak tov natati lachem, Torati al tazavu. Eitz chayim lamacha chazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar drachecha dachenom v'chol nativoteha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai Echa V'nashava Adesh Yameinu Kaganeh Adesh Yameinu
So, what are the chances of having 5 children, all of the same gender, all the same sex? It seems very unlikely, but in fact it's about 6%. The same as flipping heads on a coin toss 5 times in a row. In the world of the Bible, this outcome is disastrous. If they're all girls, that is. We're introduced to the unnamed Mr. Zelophehad, who, as if to labour the theme of the story, has a long history of male ancestors. Son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph. He has died in the desert, and the text is keen to emphasise that he was blameless. Otherwise, we might think that having 5 daughters was some kind of divine punishment. But punishment or no, he has only daughters, and we get their names: Mala, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. The problem is, according to Israelite law, up to that point, daughters don't count. Without a male heir, there will be no family land to pass on, and no Zelophehad name to pass down the generations. The sisters present their case to Moses. Strangely, he doesn't rule on it himself, but instead God directly rules that their case is just, and that henceforth women will be able to inherit, though only if there are no male heirs. The law is changed because of the daughters of Zelophehad's protest. I wonder if we can infer from Moses' silence that he doesn't approve of the change, that he's a stickler for tradition in this regard. The fact that this section is immediately followed by God telling Moses that he's going to die does suggest that God is somehow unhappy with Moses' lack of action here, and that God realises that going forward the Israelites will need a different kind of leader, one who is prepared to make bold changes for the sake of justice and equality. And in the section about Joshua, it talks about a leader that goes out before the people, and that's normally interpreted in military terms, but it could also be as a moral leader taking a step maybe before all the people are ready for it. This story makes me think of another Jewish patriarch who only has daughters. That's of course Tevye the milkman, hero of the Sholem Aleichem stories, which eventually became Fiddler on the Roof. In the stories, Tevye had 7 daughters. That's 1.6% chance, in case you were wondering. But in the film, he has only 5. You know, had to be cut down a bit. 2 of them are kids, so they don't get much to do in the story. I don't know if either Sholem Aleichem or the musical scriptwriter Joseph Stein were consciously referencing the daughters of Zelophehad.
but they use the idea of him having daughters to emphasize his lack of luck, his being put upon. Not only are there no sons to carry on the Milchicha name, but he needs to find a dowry for each of them. As we know, they all choose partners Tevye doesn't approve of. A communist, a non-Jewish Russian. Mottel, the poor tailor, seems an excellent choice in comparison. The whole story is about the desire to pass something on through the generations, and how difficult and fraught that process is. Children do not necessarily want to follow the path of their parents. And these issues haven't gone away. People still obsess about the sex of their future children, though now it tend to seek balance rather than simply desiring boys. But I think the wider issue is our ongoing obsession with lineage. DNA kits, TV programs like Who Do You Think You Are? Everyone wants to know where you're from. And if your initial answer doesn't satisfy them, where are you really from? I've had this when visiting some Orthodox synagogues from people who think the surname Finlay should belong to a Scottish doctor with a casebook with their own family tartan. When I tell them that my surname is an anglicised form of my East End grandfather's surname Finkel, they go away reassured. Yichus demonstrated. Of course, lineage is everywhere in the Torah. Everyone has their own tribe, and every tribe gets its own land. But the Torah is also full of lineage going wrong. The wrong brother getting the birthright, affairs outside the tribe, tribes getting lost, affairs with people dressed as prostitutes. These breaches in lineage become part of the birthline of the Messiah, so in some sense they're necessary, desirable. Then there are the mixed multitudes that join the Israelites, the strangers that dwell amongst them. In the realm of history, there are the many tribes that mass converted to Judaism in the Second Temple era. Without them, Judaism wouldn't have grown in any way so rapidly in that time. And then we have individual conversion to Judaism, a process where people metaphorically change their lineage so that, in traditional halakha at least, they are no longer the children of their biological parents. People have been joining and leaving the Jewish people throughout our history. Nobody has an uninterrupted lineage. For me, Jewishness is about action, not descent. I like to see Jew as a verb rather than a noun. I always find the demand to show birth certificates to prove Jewish status in order to join a shul or make aliyah to Israel rather distasteful. Surely the question is how you Jew, how you live your Jewishness, not who your parents were. And for me, there's a kind of secular theology behind my distrust of lineage. Emil Fackenheim, the philosopher, argued that neither Judaism or Christianity could be the same after the Holocaust. His post-Holocaust Judaism emphasised survival, strength in marriage, and the state of Israel. It was popularised through his suggested 614th commandment not to give Hitler a posthumous victory. I agree on the need to rethink everything in the light of the Shoah, but for me, the essential post-Holocaust commandment is to be the opposite of the Nazis in all things. This might be about emphasising dissidence over following authority, egalitarianism over hierarchy, socialism over nationalism. But at its core is the rejection of race science, of bloodlines, of making distinctions based on lineage and descent. I think that Jewish scientists like Ashley Montagu, who forcefully rejected race science in the late 1940s against the arguments of many other scientists of the time, were following this implicit secular Jewish theology. I shudder at any appeal to a nation or ethnic solidarity, even when it's being marshalled for supposedly progressive ends. Some years ago, I was shocked to read a text by a conservative rabbi which talked of intermarriage as ethnic apostasy. That felt like a heresy in my post-Holocaust anti-totalitarian Jewish theology. What's the alternative? I think it's dissent by choice. In her book, States Without Nations, political theorist Jacqueline Stevens imagines a world not based around birthright-based citizenship, but rather one that includes freedom of movement for all around the world, abolishing inheritance as we know it, and replacing marriage with a legal category of parentage. in which the parents need not be biological ones. She argues for voluntaristic forms of association rather than biological and property-based ones. Interestingly, she suggests that our existing notions of birthright citizenship, marriage and inheritance are based around a fear of death and a desperate drive to achieve immortality by leaving something behind. That's the case in the Torah with the obsessive counting of tribes and their land, and it's the case today. But what if we instead focus on the form of eternal life we can gain through influence and not just descent? We choose our ancestors as well as being chosen by them. We narrate our own identities via a self-selected smorgasbord of history. We might choose our own Jewish ancestors, Hebrew poets in Muslim Spain, philosophers in Renaissance Italy, intellectuals in Holland in the 17th century, fighters in the Spanish Civil War. We create the family we wish to situate ourselves in. And going forward, some of us may have children, but we pass on our legacies to a diverse range of people, not of all of whom are related to us. Anyone we influence become a kind of children to us. Moses' actual children do not even join the Israelites in the wilderness. They go back to Jethro in Midian with Zipporah. And yet Moses' influence over the Israelites is profound. They all become his children. In the final analysis, none of us get to cross over into the promised land. We can't get round that fact by passing on land or property. All we can do is attempt to gain a Shem Tov, a good name, and hope that our behaviour, our values, and our dreams are passed on by those who we've influenced, by the sons and daughters of all of us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I'm going to continue or conclude our service with Yelenu on page 520. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לאחד את שמו, לגור עלינו לחמליק מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שכונות השמיים ויסד הארץ, ומשב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום להשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods shall vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, when all will invoke your name, relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honour. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to your all eternity you will reign in glory, as is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. It is hard to feel serene when our world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone. Yet, in the emptiness their passing leaves behind, we are not alone, for we have the companionship of the living, and even our loved ones who have died live on in our hearts, for what they were is part of what we have become. We honour them best when we live as they would wish, responsibly and happily, even in the shadow of our loss, and so draw closer to the source of life, in whom every life finds meaning, purpose, and hope. And on this Shabbat, we remember the yahrzeit of Sarah Wonan Klein, mother of Harry Benham. Is there anybody else that anybody here would like to mention who you're remembering at this time?
Rachel Bat Yaakov.
Rachel Bat Yaakov, thank you, Paul.
And my father, Reggie or Reginald.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. May all their memories be for a blessing. If you'd like to unmute to say the Kaddish, you're more than welcome to do so. It's on page 524. 524. Yitkadal v'yitkadal me'raba v'omar divrah malchutei Eichon Aye dekol beit Yisrael Adlal uvizman karev v'yikru Yehei shemei Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yifa'ar v'yaman v'naseh Le'ela min kol She'rata tishbachsa Matzah Yoma v'mru Amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya Amen Ose shalom Yaseh shalom
Amen.
Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Stephen for any announcements now.
Okay. First of all, Joseph, I wanted to thank you on behalf of all of us very much for leading the service this morning. One or two thoughts actually crossed my mind, both in relation to the theme service and your sermon. The first was the theme of tolerance, and one or two of those readings might be good reading for one or two of today's politicians, I think, because there's some very serious messages in there, I think, for the politicians of today. The second thing was very much about and there is a link between, I think, tolerance and some of the views on Judaism. I share with you the idea that it can't just be about biological descent, that it's got to be about belief and your approach to life at least as much and certainly more. But and there's a link there, people being tolerant about the relationships their children have and a number of the things that go on around us, rather than this pure sort of biological descent notion that certainly dominates other forms of Judaism, perhaps more than ours. The final thing that struck me slightly on a more amusing note was whether the possibility of seeing Adon Olam to either tradition or If I Were a Rich Man is either of those possible? I don't know. You don't have to do it today, Joseph, but food for thought. Certainly tradition would be a big challenge. If I Were a Rich Man, I suspect would probably work. So thank you very much again. I'm just going to now share my screen, or try to share my screen. Doesn't always work, but let me just try. Can you? Oh, that's not right. Hang on, just a moment. Give me a second. Put that one back. Move that one. Can you see my screen with events or not? Excellent.
Yes.
The first thing then just to say is that next Friday and Saturday, The services are both going to be led by Rabbi Rachel. So hopefully you can join us for either one or both of those. And then just going on to the events over the next few days, there's always a lot, but tomorrow there is an experience of Jewish meditation, which is being led by Esther Ahrensfeld, who we all know, between 2 and 3 o'clock for an experience of Jewish meditation. So if you fancy a bit of meditation and Jewish spiritual experience, please join her at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And then there is also a sort of cameo meeting for those who may have suffered some form of loss. That's also tomorrow. That's from 2:30 p.m. Slightly overlaps with Esther's, so you can always probably switch across once Esther has finished. And then another event, which I think is a bit later at 5:30, from someone called Adam Green, called Did God Work Out? And I think he kind of combines art and biblical text and that sort of thing. So again, sounds a very interesting one. But most interesting of all, I've got to plug this one on Tuesday at 2:30. Here she is. There's a meeting led Danielle Sanderson, my wife, is being interviewed about her athletic experiences. And perhaps you can join and support her on Tuesday, the 6th of July at 2:30. I think that picture is from her winning the Crete Marathon in 1992. So lots to think about in terms of her history and athletic experience. So please be very grateful if you could support her then. That's all I have to say. Does anybody else wish to say anything, make any announcements, or point out anything?
I hope you don't mind me mentioning, but I know another family in literature with 5 daughters, no money and no dowry, and that's the Bennett sisters in Pride and Prejudice. That was all about getting them married and getting them married to wealthy people, because the inheritance was going to be passed on to a male heir.
Yeah.
And don't forget Eddie Cantor, who also had 5 daughters and made cracks about having to get money together to marry them all off.
What was the name? Sorry, Eddie Cantor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Thank you. Great. Well, Len, I can't resist the challenge. And Stephen just posed to me the 2 Stephen suggested don't work terribly well. And there's a common view that any tune can go to a dollar alarm. It's not totally true. A lot of tunes. But I think I can do matchmaker. I think I'll give you that. Okay. We'll do our best. So it's a dollar alarm on page 525. Adon Olam Hashem Malak B'terem Kol Yisin Nivra Le'ed Nasa B'chefsa Kol Azamelech Shamo Nikra Acharei Kiglot HaKol Lava Ado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hove V'hu Yeh V'tifara V'hu echad v'ein sheni V'cham shilo v'chakbira B'li reshit B'li taklit V'lo halos v'hamizra V'hu eli v'chai goli V'tzochev li v'etzara V'hu nisi u'manos li M'nakosi b'yom ekra V'yad odo av kidruchi V'et tishan v'a'ila V'im ruchi gaviati Adonai li v'lo ira. So you know that wasn't prepared.
Joseph, sorry for interrupting, but I've got another question. Can I ask it?
Go on then.
You know the names of the 5 daughters. Yeah. One of them is Noah. Yeah. Is that a mistranslation or a misspelling compared to Noah and Noah's Ark?
No, it
it's spelt differently. I can't remember. There's one letter difference, and it's a girl's name in Israel because of that. It can
I
be.
think it does an H on the end.
Pardon? Sorry.
I think it doesn't have an H on the end.
Yeah,
my
I
cousin's got a daughter called Noah, and it's.
I'm not sure the Hebrew spelling, but yes, it's generally NOA when you spell it in English. Yes. No. Good.
Bean's daughter is called Noah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I didn't hear the first bit. Okay. Great. Okay. So we will conclude with Kiddush. I haven't got any wine or bread, so I'm happy for other people to jump in with who do. Does someone want to say Kiddush? It's on a page that I don't have in front of me. Kiddush, God knows.
566.
564.
566. Yeah. Anyone want to sing the Shamru? Linda? Do you want to sing it? Anyone else?
Okay, I'll sing Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i shavat ve'inafash.
Can someone with the wine? Al ken barak Adonai et yom hashabat v'kadshehu. Someone with the wine say the blessing then?
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagofen.
Amen. L'chaim. And maybe Stephen or another will do the blessing over Chag.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Yes.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Yes,
Joseph,
shalom,
thanks
everybody. Yes.
for the service.
Thank you, Joseph.
And good luck.
Yeah,
doing
thank you,
your
Joseph.
night.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you very much, everybody. Lovely service.
Shabbat shalom,
Bye-bye.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, for a very, very good
Thank you, Joseph. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Bye. Shabbat shalom.
Alison.
Shabbat shalom. Everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you.
Alison.
Thank you very much. Marvelous sermon and service.
Shalom.
Best regards to your mother, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll send you.
Joseph.
Georgia, Mary.
Thank you.
Your contribution, Linda.
Okay,
I think we're
in the meeting. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you.